Hey everybody, it's Star Raptor here, and I'm going to be giving you a comic book review of The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. Now this graphic novel is the first volume in a series of 10, and if you check any comic book website about the best comics or what comics to start with, this usually falls within the top 5 of all spots on most lists. This book was originally published by Vertigo Comics back in 1988, and as was mentioned before, it was written by Neil Gaiman, who is New York Times best-selling author of The Graveyard Book and Coraline. Artists included in the graphic novel are Sam Keith, who is known for Batman and the Hulk and the Wolverine, as well as Mike Dringenberg and Malcolm Jones. So Sandman starts out with a cult called the Order of Ancient Mysteries, trying to summon the entity of death itself to stop it from happening. However, they mistakenly summoned Lord of Nightmare and Dreams, Morpheus, to Earth. Morpheus has remained a prisoner of these people for about 70 years. During that time, there are many occurrences of people across the globe being stuck in a constant dream or nightmare that they cannot wake from. Once broken free, Morpheus then sets out on an adventure to gather all the tools containing his power, which was stolen from him when he was imprisoned. The setting of this story is really great. There is a ton of different locations all throughout spans of time, and it originally starts in 1916 when Morpheus is summoned by the Order of Ancient Mysteries. Now, the story unfolds by jumping decades into the future, focusing on different characters until it finally ends up in the late 80s. Such locations include battlefields of World War I, to crowded cities, to Morpheus' own nightmare realm, and even the gates of hell themselves. The real interesting thing here is that many of the settings are actually derived from the wicked dreams and nightmares of the many who have been affected by the arrival of Morpheus into the mortal world, having some really interesting dreams and nightmares in there. The main character, of course, is the Dream and Nightmare Lord Morpheus. We don't have an exact date on how old he is, but he's basically going to be centuries or thousands of years old somewhere in that point in time. And Morpheus himself is a dark, brooding, and kind of like an anti-hero, really, because when he's first summoned to Earth, he is this person, or he's this entity that everybody fears. But when he becomes one with Earth, he is pretty much immortal because all his powers are stored in these tools that are spread out throughout the world, so he is going to reclaim these powers. So the cool thing about Morpheus is he can use people's dreams to transport himself all over the place, and he could just think of something and it will happen because he's a dream lord. As far as, like, let's say for example he needs clothes, he thinks of what he needs and clothes magically appear on him. I thought that was pretty cool. So at the beginning of the story we think of him as the antagonist, but along the way he's introduced to enemies that make him even look like a hero because what they do is so terrible. And by the end of the volume, I actually started to root for Morpheus a lot. Many characters also drop in and out rather quickly. You may actually recognize some of them, such as Cain and Abel, Constantine, and even some DC characters such as Dr. Destiny and The Martian. It's also fun seeing references to characters such as Batman and Justice League as well. So the art style is very appealing to the eye. At the beginning of every chapter, there's a beautiful oil-painted picture. The art itself is really dark, which actually goes perfectly with the narrative of the story. I enjoyed the framing of all the scenes and the creative use for spaces on the page. Especially I love the full pages with all the detail and all the expressions on all the many characters. As mentioned before, this is a really dark story and it goes in places that I never thought it would go in and just keeps lingering there. And certain actions by characters will make you ponder, how is it possible to be that evil? So the bottom line is I was invested with this story from start to finish. Neil Gaiman wrote a story that is unique beyond anything I've ever read. The interweaving of dreams and reality is so expertly captured in this graphic novel. I'll definitely keep reading this series. Please subscribe to me, guys, and see you around.